pushing me on here. Thanks, Chair Murneke. Okay, Member Harla. Here. Member Johnston. Here. Member Leffler-Kemp.
Here.
Chair Murneke.
Here.
I am here. Member Welty.
Here.
Member Westholm.
Here.
Superintendent Gronseth.
Here.
Assistant Superintendent Crawford. Here. Deputy Clerk Hansen. Here. Secretary Tebow. Here. And let's see, student representatives, Representative Manning. Here. And Representative Tremble. Here. We are all here, Chair Murneke.
Thank you, Member Sligopunko. Will the audience please stand and repeat with us as we say the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have approval of our agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Member Westholm, seconded by Member Welty. Any discussion? Member Johnston.
Yes, I make a motion to amend the agenda to add discussion of Johnson Controls Incorporated change orders to the Business Committee agenda.
Is there a second? Second by Member Welty. Member Johnson, discussion?
Yes, I'm asking for this item to be put on. We had a fairly thorough discussion about this on Monday. And I asked at that time, and I asked before that, for this to be put on the agenda. It never was. I think we talked about, in particular, we talked about a $286,000 change order, which I thought people would be fairly interested in and having a discussion because we're trying to find some ways to save money and to get money into the classrooms. Unfortunately, there didn't seem to be a whole lot of interest in that. And so I'm asking that be put on the agenda now. We were given handouts, so I'm asking that be done.
Okay. Member Welty.
I'll add to that.
Wait 1 second. Okay.
And I'll add to that, I did offer an apology for not the best way perhaps of getting it on the agenda when I passed out some materials. I do think that it is a topic that is worthy of discussion, even though it does seem that perhaps I was going on the wrong track. There may be additional information that we need to discuss, and I'd like to do it the right way.
Member Sligopunko.
Thank you, Chair Murneke. You know, I just want to weigh in on this because the question was asked about this, and it was answered very well, just most excellently. That's not even a word, but it was really well done by Carrie Leiter, our facilities management employee, and he explained things. I almost wish that we would have recorded it because it was so well done and communicated so much where we had, he had asked, they've had lawyers look at everything, and everything has been up and up. We have examined this so thoroughly for the last 6 years, 6.5 years that I've been on the board. This is deja vu. And I think that we have kind of overdone it. And I know that I have the longest tenure right now on the board for the last few years, and I do know there's another board member that has been here 4 years also and has witnessed all of those discussions and has learned the same things that I have in the last 4 years. So to continue to bring this up every time we meet has continued to be way too much, and I will vote against it. I think this is ridiculous to keep on bringing this up, and agenda items are constantly brought up that are repeated. We have voted them down. They keep coming up. And so this is totally unnecessary, and I move that we vote on it right now. I call the question.
Well, she called a question. Is there a second? Is there a second? Hearing, what's that?
I second it.
Okay, the question has been called. By voting for the question, you'll end debate. By voting against, we'll continue the discussion. All in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Nay. Opinion of the chair, the nays have it. Member John,
Wait, what was the vote?
okay, with show of hands, all in favor of calling the question, show their hands. 2. All against, show your hands. 5. Okay, Member Johnston.
I think what Member Sligo-Punko said is exactly the reason why we did have a good discussion. Good discussion should be done in public, and that's all that I'm asking for. I don't even ask people to agree with me. And this is a new topic, contrary to what the member just said. This is a completely new topic. And I think that with due respect to our financial advisors, I think that we as a board should be certainly have a duty and obligation to question some decisions that they make. At this point, I am, and I would like to have the public hear those discussion items, which is why I'm asking for this item.
Member Harla.
Member Welty, not Member Welty, sorry, Member Johnston, I appreciated your phone call in advance of this today, but wanted to make sure, I had some time to think a little bit about it, but want to make sure that the whole board has the time to think about it. And with all of this being said, I know that it's been talked about numerous times that we as a board need to sit down to figure out how we as a board make decisions and there are some discrepancies on determining the meeting agenda. So thank you again to Member Loeffler-Kemp for bringing a couple of the policies that may contradict tonight, but then also to Sue Tellerico that provided them to us in the past. I understand that you want this added tonight. I think we need to give the administration some time to be able to present to us, just like we asked at the last meeting. And I understand there was frustration because it was handed out last minute. There were lots of dramatic responses to it in the room. But that being said, if it's on the agenda, let's get it onto next month's agenda if we can, or let's find a way to come to a consensus of how we can get something on the agenda. It's unacceptable that we're having these conversations. So if there's any way that we can figure out how to move forward without any of us having to grandstand and just be able to have a conversation, let's do that.
Thank you. All in favor of adding the amendment to the agenda, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? Nay.
Okay.
It's opinion of the chair, the nays have it. We move on. Reading of the approval of the minutes. Regular school board meeting, March 18th.
Oh, we have to approve the whole agenda.
Member Johnston, I think we
We did the agenda, no, we have to approve the whole.
okay, we have to approve that, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Member Johnson,
Sure, I make a motion to amend the agenda to add discussion of all school board members can call agenda items to the business committee agenda.
I'm sorry?
What?
Make a motion to.
Oh, I was listening so much I forgot to turn that on.
I'm glad you were listening. I make a motion to amend the agenda to add discussion of how school board members can add agenda items to the business committee agenda.
Is there a second? Second by Member Welty. Member Johnston.
Yeah, I'd originally suggested this on an email here earlier today or yesterday. And Member Loeffler-Kemp suggested that this would be a good topic to have today, so I decided I would put an amendment in here to see if, since there seems to be some support on that, I think it's the time that we could have a discussion now.
Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Actually, what I did was I responded with what the policy numbers were, so everyone had that information going into this meeting tonight. And after last week's business committee meeting, which I chaired, I pulled out these two policies, and so I had them at my fingertips, and that's why I sent the email today, was to make sure you were clear. Thank you.
Member Johnston.
Thank you for that clarification. I will certainly pull this item here, and again, then assuming that it will be put on next month's agenda. I thought that that people wanted to put that on now, so that's why I was asking for it. But I'm certainly willing to, if Mr. Welty seconded this, willing to withdraw this, I would withdraw this. this motion.
With Mr. Welty's approval, it's been withdrawn. Anything else on the agenda? We are going to approve the agenda. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's 7-0. Going on to the reading of the minutes, the regular school board meeting on March 18th, 2014. Is there a motion to approve? So moved by member Westholm. Second? Second by member Harla. Any discussion? Member Johnston.
See, did you mean March 18th or did you say?
Did I say it's March 18th?
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
my fault.
Yeah, just a correction on there on page 4 of the minutes.
Correction?
A correction, yeah. It said, I did not vote on the question of rescinding the closed campus. The minutes indicate that I voted no on that, but I did not vote. So I want that corrected.
Where it says abstained on here. Right down here it says
right.
abstained.
No, but this up here. So, all right, that still works on a 4-2 vote then. Okay. All right. Ms. Thibault, will you make that correction then? All right. All in favor, Member Welty?
Assuming you're looking at the same place, that is just below upon a vote, the same was approved 5-2 as follows. I believe that the vote was actually a Merneke Welty, were nay on that.
No, that was a vote to rescind.
That was the vote to rescind?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Where's that?
I'm sorry? I heard it. All right, now we're going to vote. I can't turn, Harry, will you turn your, there you go. Vote regular school board meeting March 18th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Special board meeting April 14th, 2014. Vote to, is there a motion to approve? Motion by member Harla, second? Second by member Lafleur-Kemp. Member Welty. Whoops, you turned it off. Oh, okay. No other lights. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Wasn't this, member Welty, you weren't at this meeting, right? So it states that you're on this, that you were attending?
That's the next one.
Yeah, this is the contract one. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. April 15th, special school board meeting. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Moved by member Westholm. Second by member Lafleur-Kemp. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's 7-0. We are done with the reading and approving of the minutes. We now go to community recognition. We turn the microphone over to Mr. Crawford, Assistant Superintendent Crawford. Carrie, did you want to talk? Oh, okay. Yes. Oh, and if the board would come down in the front.
Members of the board, this month I'm pleased to present the Duluth Aviation Institute and its Path to Aviation program for recognition. Representing the Institute or its founder, Ms. Sandra Ettestad, and Institute Aviation instructor, Marcel Lafond. In collaboration with Area School District, the Duluth Aviation Institute provides in-class STEM education for 6th graders. The Path to Aviation lessons provide an opportunity for students to have a real-world educational experience designed to inspire interest in science, technology, engineering, and math. The Institute partners with teachers to creatively teach these subjects as they are used in aviation. The top 15% of students who excel in the program are rewarded with a Young Eagles flight from the Sky Harbor Airport. Through this program, the Institute has presented several ISD 709 students with the Apollo Gilruth Continuum Award for the academic excellence. The Institute's vision is community-inspired and enriched by the art and science of aviation. Many thanks to the Duluth Aviation Institute for their support in inspiring and educating our students.
On behalf of the trustees of the Duluth Aviation Institute, thank you very much. I would like to also recognize our funders, Monaco Air Foundation, Monaco Family Charitable Trust, Northland Foundation, Lloyd K. Johnson Foundation, and AOPA Foundation. As we all know, a program can't function without a little bit of finance. I would also like to give a very special thank you to our teachers, Sandy Pearson, Chad Humphreys, Deb Showalter, and Bill Benson. They have been wonderful partners in this journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As a lifelong Duluthian, I've always been so impressed with the support we get from the business community, from the citizens out there. We try to have all of these programs for the kids, and people just tend to pull up their bootstraps and dig in and help out. And you guys are doing a wonderful job. We want to especially thank Monaco for all the help and what you're doing to help our kids in a very important field. Thank you so much. We now move on to audience. Our first speaker would be Mr. Martell. And again, we have a 3-minute limit. And welcome, Mr. Martell.
Thank you, Board. If you don't agree with certain people and fall into line, you can sometimes not be treated very well in here. Didn't feel too good to get to treatment last time, did it, Mr. Chair? I thought Student Representative Manning showed some of the keenest insight of the last meeting when he said, I don't think it'd make the board look dysfunctional if you pass this. It's something that's good to come up again when you see problems with a proposal. Changing your mind isn't always a sign of weakness. It can show responsiveness. If this board is worried about the message it's sending to the community, you might consider your image of arrogance. Arrogant inflexibility is not leadership. Mr. Manning seems to innately understand this at a young age. Hopefully he won't unlearn it by watching this board. The 5-2 vote I just witnessed was somewhat heartening. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Member Johnston.
Mr. Chair and fellow board members, it's with a heavy heart that I must go to the public speaker podium to be able to talk about an important financial issue. I have asked the board to include this topic in this month's agenda, and I was turned down. I asked the board chair earlier today to put this on next month's agenda and was told, no, it will not happen. So I am left with no choice but to use this 3 minutes to speak to the people of Duluth. We all know that Johnson Controls was a program manager on the RED plan, that they would get about $40 million of the $315 million plan. This included, of course, money for the contract administration, architect and engineering part of the RED plan. I have recently found that this district has entered into at least five change orders to the program management agreement and the job order contract between Johnson Controls and ISD 709. I have queried 6 current and past board members. Not one of them were aware of these 5 change orders with Johnson Controls. Another board member and I have combed through the minutes and board book of this school board, and there is no notice of these change orders from 2009 to the present. It is not insignificant. In fact, the change orders total at least $11.2 million, probably more. I repeat, $11.2 million in contract change orders. None of these were approved by the board. In fact, few, if any, board members were even aware of these $11.2 million changes. Of particular interest is a change order from January 13, 2012, which gave $8.7 million additional money to Johnson Controls. I would ask the people of Duluth to recall that on March 6, 2012, less than 2 months after that, this board approved a $19.3 million increase to the RED plan with lots of discussion. But never once during any of these robust discussions were the board members or the public informed by the district administration that any of this $19.3 million plan increase, Johnson Controls was already planned to get $8.7 million of that. In other words, 45% of the increase would go directly to Johnson Controls, not to the children of our school district or to build them new schools. Was this illegal? Who knows? But a lot of people care. It is proper for a school board, is it proper for a board chair and vice chair to sign multi-million-dollar change orders without informing the rest of the board or seeking board approval? More important, does this pass the smell test? Why did the administration of this district advocate $19.3 million increase on the RED plan, full knowing that they had already signed away $8.7 million of that to Johnson Controls? But that same administration refused to notify the board of that $1 million agreement. As a board member, I want to know why the board, at least 6 of them, current members, were never informed of this multi-million-dollar deal. I will be asking the state auditor, the attorney general, the commissioner of MDE to look into this issue. Unless I'm given a full explanation of why this happened, a full explanation of where all $11.2 million went and for what, I will be submitting a data practices request to the district as well as talking to the attorney general and ask for full accountability.
Thank you, Member Johnston. We move on to communications. We received a letter from the Duluth School Board, to the Duluth School Board from Alana Oswald, providing copies of communications previously shared with the board regarding a complaint she filed with the Minnesota Department of Education stating that Laura MacArthur Elementary taught a limited curriculum while working to raise reading and math test scores. We now move on to the report of the superintendent.
I just wanted to add that there was a communication that was mistakenly missed, and I'll be sure to get it into next month's report. It was a received from Jana Blomquist petition regarding support for our music program, and I'll be sure to include that next month. I'd also like to thank Denfeld for inviting me to have a cameo appearance in their lip dub. And if you haven't had the chance to see that, if you Google Denfeld lip dub, you'll be able to see a great video that the students made. And it was a wonderful way to bring the whole school together. And it was a fun time, and a lot of school spirit was developed in the process. I'm also very hopeful that spring has finally arrived. Now, I know I may have said that last month and called a snow day like a few days after that, so I'm going to knock on wood here and hope that it doesn't happen again. And now that our winter weather is hopefully over, we're going to be surveying our staff and parents about maybe changing some practices for next year, maybe look into being able to do a delayed start, some ways to save ourselves some snow days along the way, and see how that will work. So parents and staff can be looking for that to be coming out soon. we wanted to wait until we were done for the year, but so hopefully we're done. And it's been sunny and warm long enough that the ice and the snow is starting to melt away, and our staff and our students and our volunteers are busy cleaning up our school yards and school sites, especially today. I'm sure, being Earth Day, some of our students and classes have been out doing their part to clean up after a long, somewhat messy winter. And we'll also be planting soon. And it's a really wonderful opportunity for our students to learn more about gardening, but also about growing our own foods, about healthy living and nutrition. And across the nation, school gardens are popping up in schoolyards. And I believe the saying is, grow food, not lawns. Well, while we may not be replacing our whole lawn, we are certainly doing more school gardens. And people who would like to be involved with that can certainly contact their neighborhood school or call the district. And they're always looking for more green thumbs and master gardeners to help with those plans and to maintain those garden beds over the summer. So I encourage people to get out and get involved with the many projects and many gardens that our schools are doing. So with that, happy Earth Day.
Thank you, Superintendent Gronseth. I'd like to take a second here to thank Jana Hollingsworth and the Duluth News Tribune for Jana. I want to thank you for your coverage of the Denfeld musical, the Denfeld video, and appreciate the positiveness of what the Duluth News Tribune did on that. And Principal Sconyers, you did just a wonderful job, and I watched it 3 times, and it was just a joy. And be sure to tell the staff that the school board is just very proud of them, and it was a wonderful, wonderful presentation. Thank you. We now move on to our committee reports. Member Harla with our education report. Whoop, there we go.
Superintendent Brown said, I know you said it was a fun time, but it's always a good time for the lift up, right? Okay. Okay, just noting that it's to the song, it's always a good time. Okay, next. All right, so our first item that we had on our education committee agenda last week, the presenter wasn't able to make it, but she will be moving, she'll be joining us next time. It's an AmeriCorps Promise Fellows that's working on some Hunters for Health. So we look forward to her presentation in an upcoming board meeting. Keep your eyes out for some students doing service learning coming up there. Our second item was our residential treatment program presentation. Denise Claremont, principal from our residential treatment programs, provided us some really great information about our residential programs. And it's easy for folks to just think that our district covers traditional K-12, but we have pre-K programs and Head Start programs and residential programs that serve a broad variety of people and a broad variety of students in our district. And so a large thank you to Denise for coming to us and presenting information for us on that. So, and I do know that Woodland Hills did host a few folks from the board and continue to do that, and we're welcome to come and tour Woodland Hills at any time, and just a really great facility to serve our students. So that was our informational items, all to be received as informational. Our next piece are a few action items that we have coming up here. We had a great presentation from William House, our coordinator of Office of Education Equity. William House has put in a phenomenal amount of time this last year in updating our equity, our achievement and integration plan for 2015 to 2017. There's been a large change in this funding cycle from the state. In fact, the way that it was initially, they've changed how the funding comes through to us, where we have to, every outcome is set to a SMART goal. What does the S stand for in SMART again? I can't remember. Sustainable? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So really anything that we're doing that are going to support students to make sure that our schools that are racially identifiable are able to we're able to do some oh my gosh, I'm sorry. man, that we're able to desegregate some of their schools, but then also it includes students that may be served by our free and reduced lunch programs. So I'm really proud of the work that Mr. Howes did. He has worked tirelessly to get feedback back from our Education Equity Advisory Committee, but then also from our school, our specific parent groups and school groups at Myers-Wilkins Elementary School. So just a huge thank you to he and to his office staff that has just really, his whole team has done a really great job. So it will be recommended that the board accept and approve the proposed achievement and integration plan for 2015 to 2017. Our next piece is with the Duluth Public Schools annual Head Start self-assessment. So Pam Rees came in and spoke to us again this month. She did a great presentation, and she was presenting our Duluth Public Schools annual Head Start self-assessment results and for review and approval, and so it was recommended that the board accept and approve that item that I just said. Do I have to read the whole thing? I don't think so. Okay. And then she also spoke with us about our annual Head Start community assessment. So she worked with community members. They have actually a community advisory committee that provides some good feedback to our Head Start program. And so it was recommended that we approve and accept and approve the Duluth Public Schools annual Head Start community assessment results. And finally, 2014 to 2015, she also presented to us our federal Head Start grant application. And we are able to get some of the funds back that we did lose during the sequester. And so that's some good news, and look forward to all of Pam's really hard work on writing this grant for the coming year. So thank you. Thank you to all that she did. So it's recommended that Duluth Public School Board accept and approve the federal Head Start grant proposal for FY 14-15 for submissions. And then we had some extended field trip requests. The Duluth Public Schools went to the FCCLA Hero students, went to Brooklyn Park, and participated in the statewide leadership conference and competition. Also, the FFA students we're going to be traveled to the University of Minnesota St. Paul campus to participate in the state FFA convention, and then the Duluth East Symphony High School Symphony and Wind Ensembles traveling to New York and New Jersey April 3rd to 8th. I do know that one of our board members had a chance to serve as a volunteer on that trip, and so just congratulations to our students and FCCLA Hero and FFA, and then to our students that traveled out east for their trip. So it's recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve the above extended field trip requests. Our next piece is a policy on for the addition of an athletic program, and it was recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve the second reading of policy 6151, addition of an athletic program. We had just a conversation just really on how we as a district are able to add an athletic program. I am voting that we move Quidditch to add to our board I actually can't move. I'm not actually moving for Quidditch. That's a joke. Sorry. So we would like to have had some good discussion on how we would add sports in the future. I know that there are some alternative sports that are talked about in our community, and so if folks are interested in that, take a look at that policy change. Our next one is for the collection, maintenance, dissemination, and retention of student records and information. This was the first reading, so it's recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve revisions of policy 5060, collection, maintenance, dissemination, and retention of student records and information for the first reading. And then we had policy 5093, the Duluth Public Schools ISD 709 restrictive procedures plan. We had a presentation that talked to us a little bit about just how students are restricted if they are to be needing to be held because they may be physically out of control. And so had some discussions about this. I know one of our first things as we think big picture is to keep students safe. So this is a good discussion that we had. It's recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve the policy 5060 Duluth Public Schools ISD 709 restrictive procedures for the first reading. So it was just a first reading of that. If board members have questions, did I read it incorrectly? 5093, sorry, for the restrictive procedures plan for the first reading. And then we have, would you like me to move this now, or should we vote on this now, Chair, or would you like us to move to the end?
Thank you. Why don't you explain the resolution, and then we'll ask for a second, and then we'll vote on it.
Great. Well, we did have we did receive a grant, or Mary Dedetke from the Service Learning Project for Hunters for Health did receive some funds to support funding for Service Learning Project at high school for Hunters for Health. She'll be presenting to us in the future, but we do need to move this resolution. So I move resolution E4143169, whereas Minnesota Statute 46503 requires the school district to accept grants by resolution expressed by the terms prescribed by the donor in full, and whereas acceptance of the grant in accordance with the donor's terms is best in the best interest of the Duluth Public Schools. Now therefore it is resolved that the Duluth Public Schools does accept the below described grants from said organizations in accordance with the terms set forth herein. Therefore, be it further resolved that the Duluth Public Schools wishes to extend its grateful appreciation to these organizations. So I move that we accept Resolution E4143169.
It's been moved by Member Harlow. Is there a second? There's a second by Member Lafleur-Kemp. Any discussion? Seeing no lights, all in favor of accepting the grant resolution, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, it passes unanimously. And then G.
Yep, and I would, G, we have diploma requests. We have another graduate, which is exciting, student still learning, Olivia Kathleen Jensen, March 11th, 2014. It's recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve the above diploma request. So congratulations to Olivia.
You're moving the education.
I move the Education Committee report.
It's been moved to accept the education report. Is there a second? Second. A second by Member Westholm. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify. I'm sorry, Member Welty. Well, what? Hold it 1 second. Why isn't it working? Let's try that once more. We are having, excuse me for a second, we are having audio. The audio is not going through channel 22. An amp burned out and can't be fixed now. Bart will have have to contact someone. Member Welty.
Thank you, Chair Merneke. I was just going to say something that I've heard members of Liga Punko say in the past, because it's very true. In this particular case, I don't think there's a lot of discussion here because we had some wonderful discussion on these items at our Education Committee meeting, and a lot of these things are worth mentioning. And I'm just going to offer kudos to Chairman Harlow, who's done a very good job explaining the details here so that we don't have to have a long discussion. The television audience, and I think the people out in the audience here with us personally know exactly what took place. So I just wanted to pass that along, my observation.
Thank you, Member Welty, and I would agree. We have some wonderful people who work very hard and under some trying situations, and sometimes people out there just don't hear about it. Member Sligopunko.
Thanks, Chairman Murky. I just want to say one thing really quick, because I was privileged to go with the Symphony and Wind Ensemble students to New York, and it was I've gone to numerous trips as my kids have gone through the music department, and I was so impressed with the behavior of the students, with their level of responsibility. It was an amazing trip, and I know I see a couple of people out there that went also, and it was very impressive. So I want to just kudos to 3 buses of students going to New York for that amount of time, and the history and the science and everything else that they saw besides playing just magnificently. So, but really impressive. So thank you.
Thank you. Member Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to say that these committee meetings are always very, very informative, and I'd like to encourage people in the audience out there and certainly in TV land to come to some of these education committee meetings. We typically don't have a lot of controversy, just because I think we have a lot of excellent educators here. We have a lot of good discussion, but things about that the chair mentioned here about all these things, we can hear a lot of detail from the people that are actually doing this. So it's certainly encourage everybody there to try to come to our committee meetings. They unfortunately aren't broadcast. Maybe that's the reason to broadcast some of these committee meetings, when we get things like all these education things are really, really top notch. And I want to appreciate all the presenters that were there, and certainly encourage people to come and hear them for themselves. Or have questions, ask any of us or the superintendent probably about what's going on.
Thank you, Member Johnson. Member Leffler-Kemp.
Sure. I also want encourage people to come to these committee meetings, and particularly the Education Committee, where you get a lot of in-depth information. And actually, Member Harla and I were at the ordained PTA meeting last night, and we did share with 80 parents that were there to attend these meetings. And my only comment I wanted to say is that we as school board members do get invited to lots of community activities and events and to get to know the school. And so it was really great with the residential treatment programs. Last week, a number of community members were invited up to Woodland Hills for a tour, and I attended that. I also just wanted to comment on the Head Start information. All of us, again, as school board members, serve on different committees, and I do serve on the Head Start Policy Committee and meet with monthly with that committee and with the parent leaders. And so if people have more questions about that, I've really been enjoying that committee, and if you have any feedback on that, I'd appreciate hearing it as well. And thank you again, Member Harla, for your updates. Okay.
Thank you, Member Loeffler-Kemp. Seeing no other lights on, it's been moved by Member Harla, second by Member Westholm, to approve the Education Committee report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Passes 7-0. Member Welty, would you carry us through the Human Resources Committee report, please?
I will, and I'd like to preface my remarks here by saying that we set a record, not a world record. It was the longest HR meeting I can recall. It was 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Congratulations.
And I promise, especially to the students here, it will not be 1 hour and 15 minutes of covering the HR committee. And by the way, I do see an awful lot of students here. It reminds me of my former tenure as a school board member when some rascally social studies teachers, they kind of set as a requirement for their poor students that they come sit through a school board meeting. I just look for head nods. Is that explain why there's so many young people here, or is there a controversy I don't know about brewing? I used to have to sign people's slips saying that they were in attendance. So my condolences, or whatever is appropriate. We had a number of topics that took up the time here. I'll start with the staffing actions. The staffing reports are pretty routine. We had 2 certified co-curricular people to deal with, 2 certified leaves, 1 certified long-term sub, 24 certified retirements, 3 certified temporary increases for non-certified appointments. Non-certified leaves, there were 7 of those. 1 non-certified permanent increase. There was 1 non-certified reclassification, 1 non-certified resignation, 3 non-certified retirements, and 2 non-certified temporary increases. We have, as a placeholder, a resolution, but I've heard talk that we may have a separate meeting sometime next week and discuss the school board's consideration of the teacher's contract that has been negotiated.
If I may, on a point of order, that's exactly right. We'll be pulling this, and we are polling the members of the school board to find a date that fits all of our schedules.
Is the chairman right to have some confidence that the meeting will not be held without him? Because I have some comments to make that I would prefer to hold off on until we actually do consider this, and I am going to be out of town from Thursday through Tuesday. Is it looking like we'll have a meeting date after that time so I could participate?
Yes, and the reason we pulled this is because you couldn't make it, and I think Member Johnson couldn't make it, so we decided to accommodate that and try to find a later date. Again, I'm hoping that 7 of us can find one day that we can get together.
I am hoping so as well. So that placeholder will continue to be a placeholder. We also had an approval of a new position, 2 new positions.
Whoops, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Well, should we go through this and then have discussion, or do you want to have discussion on a placeholder? Oh, okay. Member Johnston.
Just a suggestion to the chair is that we postpone this until the next meeting, the regular meeting. That way we know we're all going to be here. It's on all our schedules. And again, There's no hurry to have this here. The contract will be retroactive. The people are going to get their money no matter what. And it's just a suggestion for discussion that we have afterwards to postpone this until the next meeting.
Superintendent Gronseth.
I just wanted to encourage you to, well, first off, I want to say that this was being postponed because of that wily winter weather we were having. The teachers were scheduled to gather and discuss the proposed contract, and were not able to due to the weather, which put them behind, which puts us behind because the board votes after the teachers. However, I would encourage that you meet us soon thereafter as we can, because we need to wait until this is ratified to start working with the other 10 groups who have contracts to work through, and we would like to be able to do that before the end of the school year.
It's like airplanes landing at O'Hare. We got the big jumbo jet coming in first, and we get that done, and then we can start on the other 9, 10 contracts. And so therefore, actually, Mr. Hansen wanted us to continue going on as early as possible, but we're going to try to accommodate everybody here, and hopefully this Thursday, May 1st, will work for everybody. Okay, Member Welty, you're on B and C? I was. Whoops, that's me. All right.
The magic sometimes has a few glitches. We had 2 positions have to do with, in the curriculum department, just by way of explanation. In recent years, our once formidable curriculum department, a very important part of every school district, has taken a lot of hits and been sort of a shadow of its former self. We are now going to be appointing a director of curriculum and building that department up, along with the director of curriculum that we are setting up again. There are some positions for innovation specialists, and I don't know if this is listed as an action item or not, but this is a very necessary rebuilding of that department. Informational items, we have a new policy 9045, the school board's negotiating committee review, that has had some recommended changes to it. Help me out, I can't recall, is this the first or the first reading of this? This is the first reading of this. It takes 2 school board meetings for these policy changes to be considered and approved. And that's it. Wasn't an hour and 15 minutes. Are there any questions that anyone has? Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to take that away from you.
Member Hansen. There we go. Member Hansen. Mr. Hansen. Help me out on the new positions. Do we vote on those separately, or do we vote the whole human resources package?
You can vote on all of those as part of the entire agenda.
Okay.
I just did want to point out on policy 9045, it's listed as an informational item because one of the things that, at least I remember from the meeting, was that part of the board discussion was to make some changes in what was listed here, but also to get some additional information on what other districts were doing. So it's our plan to bring this back to you next month with more information as a first reading at that time.
Okay, and at the next HR meeting, I know Member Welty's on top of that, and we'll have this discussion and hammer it out. So we're not anywhere near passing this one yet. Seeing no other lights, Member Welty, did you move the HR report?
Mr. Chairman, I move the adoption of the HR report.
Is there a second? Second by Member Lafleur-Kemp. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Thank you, Member Welty. We now move on to our Business Committee report with Member Lafleur-Kemp.
Okay. So the financial report, you have in the packet all of the regular reports. I just wanted to highlight the letter H, investments in school children. We had a number of donations to Lakewood Elementary and Denfeld High School. Under bids, RFPs, and quote reports, under bids, it's recommended that the school board approve entering into a contract with the firm listed above based on their low responsive bid as shown on the bid tab and letter of recommendation as provided in response to bid number 1232, 2014, roof replacement and masonry restoration at Congdon Park Elementary School. And I do want to thank Mr. Leiter for giving a very thorough review of this back in March and providing a lot of handouts to us at that time and your update on that last week. There were no RFPs, no quotes, no policies and regulations, no contract change order and leases. We do have a resolution, and it's resolution, excuse me, and the updated version of it was in our green packets tonight. We did review it last week at the Business Committee meeting, and it is recommended that the Duluth School Board approve Resolution B4143174, resolution approving 2014 Central High School redevelopment small area project agreement. And would you like me to move this now?
I would like you to read the resolution, please, and then move it.
Okay, thank you. I move resolution number B4143174, approving the 2014 Central High School redevelopment small area plan project agreement. Whoa. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, State of Minnesota, that the 2014 Central High School redevelopment small area plan project agreement between ISD 709 and the Duluth Economic Development Authority attached hereto be approved.
Thank you, Member Loeffler-Kemp. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Member Saliga-Punko. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, there's two. All right, we'll start with Member Johnson, and thank you for knocking. I appreciate it. I did look that way.
Well, after campaigning, we get used to knocking on doors, so it's, I guess I'm campaigning, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
But thanks for recognizing me. I have a couple comments on that. First, again, which I always say that I read a lot more about this in the paper the day after the meeting than we found out about at the meeting. We had a bare bones, if any, handouts on this, so it's, again, I would like to have more thorough stuff ahead of time, and I got this. Some particulars. I do have a question on the central property is, one question is, have we had any offers in the last 3 years on central site at all?
Member, I'm sorry, Mr. Leiter? You just turned your, okay, there you go. Hold it.
Chairman, members of the board, we have had some conversations with prospective developers, but we have not received a formal purchase agreement or offer that would be of the nature that we would bring to the school board for action. Some of that really came down to the fact that the consideration was for the entire property, and that $13.7 million price tag was really kind of putting it out of the reach for most developers. Thus, the ongoing efforts that we've been undertaking to change the zoning and are currently involved in the process which this agreement relates to, creating a small area plan which will bring us another step in changing the zoning and allow us to subdivide the property into smaller parcels having a price tag that and allowed uses that will be more attractive to developers.
Member Johnston?
Sure. Yeah, I was afraid we didn't have any offers, and that's too bad, and I, like everybody, would certainly like to see this property be sold. But again, we've had this up for 3 years and no bites at all. It's kind of concerning. Obviously, that means our price is too high. I mean, the market has came back, but yet the $13.7 million is obviously too high a price. I think officially it was dropped down to 10. I'm not sure, but it is a. But looking through this contract, there's a couple things that concern me. It said that the property must be divided into parcels and sold separately. On item number 3, it talks about possible demolition of existing buildings, infrastructure improvements, other shared development improvements, and we're talking about, we don't know how far we're going to go with this, but this potentially means that we're going to be putting in utility sewer lines, doing surveys, putting in roads. That's where we're looking at here in the long run. Obviously, this thing is just the initial thing about talking about potentials of that, not doing it. I'm hoping that's what it's about. It's also talking about marketing by the city. I mean, we've been having realtors for the last 3 years marketing this to no avail. If we get to the point of even us demolishing this, I know this is one step in the future, but I think we as a board have to look at this in the long term. As demolishing this building is, I don't remember what the exact, what the latest price is, but Laura Mack was $800,000 or $700,000 to demolish. Central is obviously going to be at least $1.5 million, if not $2 million. Also reminding people we still owe another $1 million still, I believe, at least one payment left for the STC, the existing property up there. If we start putting in roads and developing this and platting this out, we're talking about millions of dollars on this. And I'm not so sure that just plotting this and saying this is a good idea is going to entice any more buyers than what we have. We may be getting ourselves into this of actually going through all those very expensive costs to demolish. And I guess I would suggest that since we don't even have an offer for 3 years, that we should be lowering the price to something that is reasonable so people will look at this. And I want to sell this as much as everybody, and it's a shame that it hasn't sold because it is beautiful, wonderful property. But I think we're getting into at least the pre-development stage. I know what you're going to say, Superintendent, we're not doing this yet. But I think that we're going down the line here that we should not be going down. I don't think that is our duty here, our ability even to be developers. I think that should be left to the private sector, people that can do a better job. So that's my concern. I don't really want to vote no on this. I certainly want the help from the city, but I am concerned that we're grabbing off a whole lot more than we as a school district should be biting off in this situation. Thank you.
I'd like to add that the property for 3 years was recently rezoned, and so there's a whole different set of parameters. And talking to our person who's helping us out with this, he says this has made the property much more saleable, and there is some optimism out there. And again, what we're doing here is certainly we have lots of time left as far as any expenditures, and none of that is being discussed at this point. This is just to get us started, and hopefully we can sell it. Member Harla.
I just wanted to thank the city of Duluth and DITA for reaching out and being a part of this. I know there's been a history of it seeming like sometimes I heard a lot on the campaign trail that no one was talking with one another, and I think that this is actually fruit of us working across government lines. So really proud to be able to work with them on this, and also want to thank the superintendent and Carrie Leiter for all of their work on gathering the small group of community individuals to help us come together on this. So just a thank you for all of your work. I know that I know those folks have done a lot to do some research on this. So thank you for gathering those folks, and to the city of Duluth.
Superintendent Gronseth.
Well, a couple of the things that I was going to say have already been said, but I will say that it has not been a lack of interest in the central site. There have been many, many, many people who have toured the site, and just the zoning challenges, the economy challenges, lack of funding for developers on a national scene, all have contributed to not being able to sell this. We did bring a group together of commercial realtors and developers along with DITA and the city to really talk about new ways of more aggressively marketing our properties. Not only the central property, but the Hartley property, Rock Ridge, Morgan Park, to look at a new way of doing this. And we are seeing much more traction since we brought that group together on several of the properties. They really have been working with the people in the community and developers on a much wider scene to market these properties. There's also changes in the city that are happening. We're seeing growth. We're seeing business growth. And part of that business growth is a need for more housing. We recently had a housing summit here in Duluth that talked about just that, how the need for housing is increasing. There's another housing summit coming up, actually being hosted at the SDC building, to talk about how we might bring more marketable housing to Duluth, and specifically looking at this site and talking to some people who are actually interested in looking at that site and how it might be used for some housing, some commercial, and that's what this small plan is all about. Looking at how can this best be used for Duluth to meet the city's growing need for housing, but also to add this property to the tax rolls, to make it a profitable piece of property for the city. So thank you to all of the people who are working to make that a reality.
Thank you, Superintendent Gronseth. Member Welty.
Thank you, Chair Murneke. Mr. Leiter, quick question. I know that the two buildings that are up on the hill, the high school and SDC, need maintenance, heating, monitoring. Do you have a rough annual cost for those buildings now that you could share with us or guesstimate?
Chair Murneke, members of the board, Member Welty, I don't have a number that I can throw out there tonight. I certainly can provide you with that information. I would feel better about looking up what we've spent this year as well as last year to provide that average cost. And as you indicated, we do have ongoing costs associated with the property. We are keeping the buildings warm, secure, and warm within, not freezing, but minimally. I can tell you typically we're reducing the cost from when they're operating as a school by almost 60% as they're in the current state.
Thank you.
Chair Mark.
Okay. Member Welty.
Superintendent, you did mention housing, and that got me thinking, because we've had a little conversation about this. Of course, with the recent long-range plan, we've kind of moved schools out away from the inner city, and yet there have been housing programs that have been bringing families back in, and it's rather ironic. But we do have some other properties that currently are sitting vacant. One of them is Nettleton, and who knows? Maybe someday we'll need to expand into that school at some point if we have enough people move into the downtown area.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. One of the more pleasant experiences that we've had lately was the Bluestone Ridge. We had a big school, Woodland. Both my daughters went to school there, and it was not on the tax rolls. And developers took a chance on that one. And I've talked to some people involved in this, and they said it's been successful beyond their wildest dreams. There's commercial property going up, and they've just torn down the old building, and they're going to put more housing there. The residential is very, very popular right now at Bluestone Ridge. And one of the people I was talking to said this has stirred some interest up in the central property. So you know, it's one of those things how things can grow quickly. You never know, especially in real estate. You know, something can sit for a while and then all of a sudden, boom, there's some interest in there. And I'm hoping this is going to happen for Central. It's been moved and seconded by Member Loeffler-Kemp and I'm sorry, Member Johnston.
Just a quick comment. I want to appreciate everybody too for the hard work they've done on this. I'm not sure it's really the right way to go. I'm still not sure how I'm going to vote on this. Of course, I want to sell this property, but I'm not sure that this is the way to go. The property has been for sale for a long time, and I certainly hope it does sell, of course, but I'm not so sure about this is the way to do it. But I do appreciate everybody's hard work, though, on this.
Thank you. Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Sure. I just wanted to second what Member Harla said in terms of the cooperation on this between the city and other entities. And some people may remember doing the campaign. Member Johnston brought up door knocking, and I was door knocking the night that this was kind of headline news in the paper about what should we do with Central. And talked to a lot of people as I was door knocking, and the one thing I tried to provide them was accurate information that there was a zoning process going on, and that was partly why it hadn't been on the market. And the other thing I heard clearly, loud and clearly from the many doors I knocked on was that this is a special property here in Duluth, and we need to have a very thoughtful process in how it's sold, and so I will be supporting this resolution, and again, just really appreciate all the work that has came together to bring it to the point we're at today.
Thank you. Student Member Manning.
Hi. I might have missed some of the meetings where we talked about this, but I'm just wondering where the money would go when you acquire this property. Just the general fund, or do you have any plans for it already? Do you know?
Superintendent?
The proceeds from the building sales of our unused buildings were already built into the long-range plan funding. And because we haven't sold these properties, those payments have come from our reserve funds. And that is why our reserve funds have decreased. So when we sell those buildings, it needs to go into replace those funds, and it's already built into the long-range facilities plan payments into the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Or was that 7-0? Okay, 7-0. Thank you.
Did I finish up?
And now you finish up. Oh. Somebody's hitting your button. Don't. Okay, I'm hitting it, and it's there. You go. No. All right. Who's on? I'm gonna turn.
Okay, so we're now on number 6, which is informational, and again, these. Okay, so we're on number 6, informational, and these items are for information purposes only. No action is required. I do want to, as a way again to educate the public, mention A is expenditure contracts, and on page 38 you'll see a list of different contracts, and I always like to look at that list and kind of review it, and I'm just so happy of the many additional programming that we have that fall underneath that item every month. In music, in art, in cultural presentations. So I just want the public to make a note of that. There were no revenue contracts, no other contracts. D, facility management and capital project status report. Page 134, contract signed in relationship to the long-range facilities plan. Page 140, page 143. No change orders in relation to the long-range facilities plan, and then the quarterly reports of grants and donations. And then of future items will be in June, the adoption of the budget. So I make a motion to approve the business committee.
Is there a second? Second by Member Westholm. Discussion. Member Johnston.
We're pulling stuff out. 1F,
Okay, 1F,
2A1,
2A1.
that's it.
That's it? Any others? Member Harla.
It was the same one I said. So
You're good?
make
And I'm looking around, I see no others. We'll start with 1F, Member Johnston.
Sure, this is a WADM report, which I often talk about, and unfortunately, this WADM report, and now we've lost about 40 students from last month, and this is at actually as low as it's been ever. And that concerns me. Compared to a year ago, we've lost about 80. Compared to just September, we've lost about 80. And so I'm just bringing that up, that this really concerns me, of course. So one thing I'm going to say is that we often bring up the reduced student population. And I often hear the reaction that, well, if we have more students, we have to have more teachers, and it's going to be more expensive. And believe it or not, there seems to be an attitude out there, surrounded or certainly by some people in the administration, that losing students is not as serious as I seem to think it is. I think that we built these new buildings to have students, and I think that this should be a priority. I'm going to make a suggestion, agenda item, if we can ever figure out how to do agenda items, is that increasing student population from our current 8,500 up to 9,000 should be a goal, one of our continuous improvement plan goals, and I would like to see that, so I'm just bringing that up now, in addition to this WADM report, because it is sliding too much, and that is not, to me, we have to do something about that, and it just isn't acceptable.
Now, I have to say, I think the members of the board and I think our administration look forward to adding more and more students all the time. The first week I came on the board, that was one of the statements I made, is I'm optimistic that with our new facilities that we are going to turn the corner. It's taking a while, but I still feel it's going to happen. Member Welty.
I was just going to make the observation that Member Johnston reminds me a little bit about of our mayor, who is hoping to increase the population of the city. And I don't know exactly what kind of an action plan we might enact to tempt people back, but if we could think of something really cool to do that, that would be great.
Thank you, Member Welty. Superintendent Gronseth.
Sure. I will say that we have been working to increase our enrollment. We've been working with the people that we have to start with. The best marketing plan is to keep the customers you already have. And I will say that the enrollment right now is above our projected enrollment. We make those projections based on history, on what our enrollment drop has been from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, because every year there is a decrease from the beginning to the end, and that is slowed this year, so we're encouraged by that. And each time we've opened a school, the enrollment for that school has been above the projections that we made going in. So we also see more families coming back from other districts who may have left during some transition, and yet our number comes down. Some of the things that we are doing to try to increase right now, for instance, we just heard from the state that we have a preliminary okay to go ahead with online programming, and so we may be being able to expand our enrollment in that way in the future. I certainly would not argue against ways for us to increase our enrollment. I too have been talking with the mayor about his 90 by 20, yeah, 90 by 20, and look forward to the growing community. So certainly things that we could talk about in the future.
Thank you. Member Johnston?
Yeah, I find it odd to be talked about in relationship with the mayor, although I appreciate the nice thought, but hopefully not unlike the mayor, we won't try to increase the population of Duluth by annexing a township, but we want to have real stuff. I do think, though, that we have to, it's above our projections, but our projections should be going up, not going down. And I know in our budget discussion, if I recall right, the projection actually is to go down to 8,100. And is that a reality? I certainly hope not. I will do everything that I can and to try to turn that around. And we haven't turned it around yet. But, I would rather have a projection, high projection, and try to meet that goal rather than set a very low projection and then say, oh, gee, we've exceeded that because I just don't want to be 8,100 in 3 years' time or 4 years' time. We just can't allow it to get down to 8,100. And again, I don't have a magic wand. I wish I did, but we have to get our class sizes down. We have to increase our curriculum, and I certainly will work with everybody anyhow to do that, because I think it's absolutely critical that we get our student population up, that we become more attractive than some of the alternatives here.
Thank you. Member Westholm?
Yeah, over the years, I've had a lot of experience with this enrollment issue, and I used to follow them very closely when I was working downtown here because that was part of my job. And I think what we're seeing with the low amount was kind of what we were expecting. We knew it was going to go down, and I believe in the next year or two was when it was projected then to level out and then to start increasing. And I don't know for sure because I haven't checked the figures, but where it's going to start is in the lower grades. So I think our kindergartners enrollment is actually, better than it's been, and that's where it's going to begin. Kindergarten, first, second grade. We're not going to see the increases in grades 9 through 12. Those upper grades, those grades were lower way back when. So now we're kind of working through, and hopefully this is going to be the leveling off period, and then we'll start to see again the increase. So next year, if our kindergarten is bigger, that means our first grade will be bigger than it was this year, and I think our kindergarten next year is supposed to be at the same or a little bit bigger too. So, the cycle we're seeing is actually kind of what we've expected for a long time, and actually I think it's a little less than what we were expecting in some ways. So there's some light at the end of the tunnel too. So
Thank you. Member Harla?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this issue, reading the Wadham projections, and I've been thinking a lot about that adage of positivity breeds positivity and negativity breeds negativity. And what is our legacy as a board of bringing people into our district? And how are we as leaders going to start leading in a way that is welcoming to our community? And so I'd say one of the things is, how are we out in the schools talking about the things that are good that are happening? I feel like sometimes we can come across as a woe is me board, but we're serving 80% of our community, and we've got kids learning every day. Yes, we have problems. Yes, we have budget issues we need to address. We've got to start talking about some bigger things than that. And I understand and respect that we want to bring up big issues. Those are important to talk about. But what is our legacy as a board moving forward in welcoming community members? And can I call this question so we can move on to the next item? Is that possible, or?
It's pulled.
Okay.
It's not a motion. So,
Okay.
all right.
Great. Thank you.
Member Lafleur-Kemp.
Actually, Member Johnston was ahead of me,
No,
I think.
not according to the computer.
Okay, okay.
And I do not question this computer.
Sorry, I just thought I saw it flashing there. So, I actually was going to share something similar to Member Harla, and we've kind of thrown around Mayor Ness tonight, and I actually was with Mayor Ness today with my daughter who interviewed him for her Duluth project, and with another student from Ordine. And I have to say that what Member Harla talked about being positive and that kind of enthusiasm and cultivating what's great is really something that I have heard from our mayor, but also have heard from lots of people when I was door knocking as well. And we are the best marketers, the parents, our staff in our schools. And I know as I've been going out and other board members have been going out, I feel it's my role to be providing accurate information. I feel it's my role to hear what people are liking as well as disliking. And I think that some of the issues we've voted on and we are voting on tonight, like the work of Mr. House and the Achievement and Integration Plan we have, are those positive things. And I see, again, our role is and our legacy, I hope, in projecting a lot of confidence in our district right now.
Thank you. Member Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make a correction. This is not what we expected. If you look at the review and comments, we're over 800 students down from the lowest projection, 800, somewhere in there. And this is not what we expected. The projected was that the increase was going to start last year. And it's so far it hasn't. I am encouraged, though, that the decrease is less than it was the last few years. This has been, well, hopefully this year's not over yet, but hopefully we won't get another 100 decrease by the time June comes along here. And that's always a low month, of course. You always got to compare months to months. You got to try to compare apples to apples. But again, it is much lower than we did expect. I did want to encourage too that yes, but you have to be very positive, like Member Harla said. That's why I say that my positive thing is I want to have 9,000 students here in 5 years. That's the goal that I have, is that I want to work for that. We got to do it. If we have a goal of 8,100 students, which is in the current financial projection, sometimes those things come true, and I want to bump it up to 9,000. And because I think that's a goal that I have a board member that I want to have, and I think we all share that, and let's say this is what we're going to do and do it.
I share that goal with you. Superintendent Gronseth.
Yes. I did want to say that this isn't just a Duluth phenomenon. It's, across the state there are many districts experiencing a declining enrollment. And there are a lot of things that factor into that. We've had a growing homeschool movement across the country. Online schools have come up in the last 10 years, have really grown. We have charter schools, we've had parochial schools, private schools, and and I value that families have choices. Families make different choices for different things, and it's part of serving the community in a well-rounded way. And yet we still serve 80% of our market share, if you will. The kids who could go to Duluth schools, about 80% of them do. And so all those other categories of schools kind of share the rest of the market. And I wanted to expand on something that Mr. Westholm said about our primary grades being larger. Piedmont School would be an excellent example of this, where if you look at our 4th and 5th grades, we have 2 sections of 4th and 5th grade, but yet kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, we have 5 sections. So the younger groups that are coming in are much larger than those, but yet we're going to see those small groups going up through the system. So there's going to be decrease in some grades while the younger grades are coming up. And over time, you'll see large and small groups kind of going through the schools. And so I'm hopeful that we'll continue to see those larger groups of younger kids coming in.
Thank you. Member Westholm.
And to add on to kind of some of the things I was talking about, you know, I live in a Piedmont Heights area, and we saw a real exodus. And it was really the uncertainty more than anything. It wasn't that they thought we had bad schools, but I was hearing, are we going to have a school? Are we not going to have a school? If we're going to have a school, what are the grades going to be? You know, what's the attendance area going to be? And those are the kinds of things going through people's heads. And so what they were doing is saying, well, we don't know, so we're going someplace where we think there's certainty. So we lost a lot of those kids. You used to see buses from other districts pulling up within a block or two of my house in Piedmont Heights. I don't see that happening now. I think we've already stemmed the flow of the exodus, and so I think as Member Johnson and some others, board members have hinted at or stated, I think there are better times ahead for us, both are from our attendance point of view. We've got a public that supported us with an operating levy, so there's a lot of good stuff going on. So I feel pretty good about a lot of things happening.
Thank you, Member Westholm. Member Sliga Punko.
Thank you, Chairman Renicky. I really appreciate what you just said, Member Westholm, because that is something that we saw over the last 25, 30 years. It was the instability of this district with not knowing which schools were going to close. I remember the reaction after there was a vote. It was a little over 20 years ago to go to 2 high schools. And I remember the uprising. And the reaction to that when the board changed its mind to keep 3 high schools was instead turned to elementaries. And I don't remember how many we had. I was teaching at the time, but the uncertainty, which Member Westholm just mentioned, was crazy. I can remember the board voting. They were going to close 1 elementary school, and then within a week to a month later, oh, that school was going to stay open, and another elementary was going to be closed. And I know Piedmont was on the chopping block probably about 5 times throughout that. I remember Chester Park multiple times, Birchwood. I mean, all these schools, and a lot of them I taught at, and it really caused just a ton of frustration, but also I know a lot of people got sick to their stomachs over the whole idea that their elementary was going to close, but they didn't know for sure. And it was a time of real unstable feelings across the district, and I think that's a big reason why we lost people too. So it is really nice. I think people forget what we went through within the last 20 years, and you're not hearing about that now. Everyone knows which school they're going to go to. They're healthy, they're beautiful buildings, and we have the facilities that support our curriculum, which one of the things that people forget is we could only offer certain parts of curriculum based on what our buildings were like. We had very inadequate science departments, the facilities. I mean, trying to share different labs, it was awful. Music facilities, we had kids and teachers having problems with hearing because of the band rooms being too low, the ceilings, and just a lot of things that we suffered with in this district. We now have the facilities, and I shouldn't have to say this again, but over the last 6 years, we have to remind community members, we have facilities now that support curriculum, which is so much better for our teaching staff too. They are able to use our facilities to their maximum level of what they were built for. So thank you, Member Westholm, for bringing that up, and I just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Johnston.
Just a quick comment. I mean, I have to say something that the buildings may be able to handle all this curriculum, but we are cutting curriculum. We're not increasing curriculum. We've cut our music, we've cut our art, we've cut our foreign languages, our world languages. We've reduced our technical curriculum. We have not increased that. And that is obviously a concern of mine. New schools don't make a curriculum. Having money to hire teachers and having that curriculum is what makes a curriculum. And we have went backwards on that, and I will do everything I can to turn that around, and I hope that we have turned it around. But we have to look at reality is that we haven't done good on curriculum. We've not done good at all. We lost our Denfeld Chamber Orchestra. I mean, I can go on and on and on. So we do have to start increasing our curriculum. Thanks.
I remember many years ago, a principal at East said, I need 1 year where I'm not cutting something. And that was 1977. And so it's something we do in the schools and we don't want to do. Member Slegapunko.
Just
Yeah,
one quick thing.
All right.
Thank you. I have to say this because I know we have cut, and I have been probably most frustrated by some of our arts being cut. And of course, I have mentioned this before, but I'm going to say it again, that the real funding problem we have has come from the state. And the mandates that they put in place on our school district and many other school districts across the state. And the biggest amount is the cross-subsidy, which is the taking out of the general fund for mandates that are supposed to be covered. Specifically, the biggest one is special ed, but it's supposed to be paid for by the state and federal governments. And we don't get the funding. We take it out of the general fund to cover it because it is mandated by law. And when you take out $8 million per year out of our general fund, that takes a lot out of our programs. If we just got that money that they promise, state and federal government has promised, but they never have come through, we would have such small class sizes. We would probably have, I can't even tell you how many arts things we would have, and I would be very happy. It does frustrate me to no end, and we're not the only ones, so.
Member Johnston, we need to move on, but all right, Member Johnston, go ahead.
Just half a minute. We can't blame special ed for this. If special ed, we hire a lot of teachers. Blaming special ed for our financial problems is completely wrong.
I'm going to mention this, is that we're not blaming special ed. We're not blaming special ed. We're blaming is what we're talking, well, I'm sure what Member Slegapunko was talking about is we have mandates. This is what was said. Mandates. Federal government says you'll do this, 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 and the state government says you'll do this and this. And I want to tell the audience out there that at one time Jesse Ventura said something I agreed with. He went to the governor's conference, and the president came up and he was talking to the governors, and Jesse Ventura stood up and said, you had promised, the federal government had promised to fund 40% of their federal mandates for special ed, 40%. It's less than 10. And he said, if you just funded half of what you promised, we'd be in good shape. So nobody's blaming special ed. What we're talking about is we're told to provide this, 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 and this, and we say, well, all right, and you're going to give us some money for this. Oh, yeah, you're going to get money. Don't worry about it. And then the budget comes in, and it's much less than they had promised. All right, 2A1, Member Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just gotta say this. We talked a little bit about it, but first, a quick question is: what funds are these coming from to do this?
Don't hit the button.
Chair Murphy, members of the board, and Member Johnston, the school board approved a 10-year plan last year that included a levy for this project. There are also revenues from alternative facilities related to Congdon Park's long-range plan that will be used related to some of the masonry portions of this project. Those are the funding. It's alternative facilities funding in both cases.
Mr. Leiter, I have a question. I was there a few years back when we did this for East, which is very similar to Congdon Park. Was that funded under the same sort of situation?
Yes, Member Murneke, that, Chair Murneke, that was funded also by alternate facilities.
Thank you. Member Harla. Whoops. All right, let's see. Can you hit your button, Carrie, off? And, oh yeah. There we go, Ann.
Great. I just wanted to, I remember hearing something a little bit that Mr. Leiter was talking about, that there's potential that the Congdon Playground could be closed this summer, and with the changes in this, you're off.
It's just, yeah, it's just going on.
All right. So, one thing that was encouraging to hear about that was that, though we'd like to have that space open, was for the grass that's on the soccer field. We'll have a year to grow and take some roots rather than by the end of this. I know it had to be put in pretty quickly at the end of this last year. Then we just didn't want it to turn into a mud pit. So in the closing of that, I'm glad that the grass will have a chance to grow this summer for that. And so just wanted to make that comment.
Mr. Leiter, would you like to respond?
I think Member Harla said it well, that there's advantages with the disadvantages.
All right. Member Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, again. Yeah, just, again, I want to know where the money was coming from. I thought that was it. It's going to be levied money. Again, that's tax money. Again, people have had some comments on this thing from people, and I have to pass it on. And I did check today before I came here, but we all knew that the Congdon roof was not good. I mean, you can see the tiles, holes in the tiles by just looking at it. And it's a little bit frustrating that this money was not included in the long-range facility plan. It certainly should have been. It was clear, you know, after spending the money that we did. And here we got an $800,000 bill that's sitting up there. And I did look at the spreadsheets from the long-range facility plan. It did include the EPM roofing, but not any of the tile roofing. So I'm assuming that means that this is not the EPM roofing. But again, it's a little frustrating that we spent all this money. We increased Congdon here just a year and a half ago by $5 million, and it should have certainly been put on that money that we did. So just a little bit of frustration. I certainly am glad to see this being fixed. Obviously, we need to fix our missing tiles and stuff up there, but a little frustrating that this wasn't included in our facility plan.
Thank you. Member Harla?
I'm encouraged that this was a 100-year roof originally at Congdon, and that the tile company, or the company that made the roof initially, did such a good job at making the roof, and the tiles, they have the exact same things they're still making it. They're still open, they're still providing that. So I'm glad that we can go with that we're making the decision to go with that 100-year purchase so that we don't have to keep going back every 20 years. So I thought that was a really, really forward-thinking decision. So thank you, long-range thinking decision.
Okay, it's been moved by Member Leffler-Kemp and seconded by Member Westholm to accept the Business Committee report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And passes. And I haven't been to the... We have no special resolutions. Any questions? Seeing none. I'm sorry, Member Harla, do you have a question? Member Harla. Oh yeah, questions, okay. Comments, number 12.
I had a chance this last week to attend with our Head Start program. A Pillsbury performance by the Pillsbury House Theater. Member Leffler-Kemp and I attended, and I was really excited to see that we're having more conversations in our district around equity and racial and economic equity. And we just wanted to make sure to formally invite board members. There's another performance of it coming up on April 30th at 5:30 p.m. It's free. It's at the Underground, and it's put on by an organization called The Table. It's kind of like the next iteration of the Unfair campaign, but really bringing people to the table to talk about race equity in our community. So I would really encourage this. It's a good beginning. Anyone of all ages should come. It rises some good things. So great job to Pam Reese for having that be a part of her programming, and please, members of the board, join me at that.
Thank you. Student Representative Manning.
Hi. I enjoyed what most of you said today about realizing that you need to bring kids in by changing curriculum and stuff, and I really appreciate that. And especially Representative Puniko's remarks about the state's funding of school boards. I think that's a really big issue that I haven't really heard much about. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You're not done?
No.
Well, I'm saying you're done. No.
But seeing Councilor Punkyo at the orchestra trip was really great to see that the administration or school board members can come and we can actually see them on a day-to-day basis. They're not just aloft. And I'm a bit of an idealist, but it got me thinking. And I would appreciate if members of the board, when making their decisions about the school, would maybe come in and sit in one class, one day of the average day of school. I don't know if anyone's done that. Has that happened?
Well,
okay.
With regards to our good friend Principal Sconyers, we did get invited to Denfeld, and we went and sat through, and a few of us, Mr. Westholm and I, spent 36 years at East, so, but, and I went to Denfeld, so I like to say I'm on both ends of the woods. But you're absolutely right, school board members. If we get a chance to go see a play, see a concert, see a game, actually, a tennis match, even not just a football game or a hockey game, but these are the things, speech meet. These are the things that we wish we all could do much more. Your light is still on, so.
Oh, I just appreciate that you went to Denfeld. Thanks.
Okay, Member Loeffler Kemp.
Well, I thank you, Member Manning. I was just going to wrap up with really kind of highlighting, again, as school board members, we do have many opportunities and get invitations to many things. And when I ran for school board, I thought one of the things I brought to the school board was that I was a current parent in the schools, a sixth grader at Erdene, and 3 kids who have recently graduated. So I've been in the schools a lot, and the aviation program that was highlighted, my daughter and many of her friends had a chance to participate in. It was her first time to fly ever, so that was exciting, and I'm glad we recognized them. I just am proud also of the DI teams. They weren't recognized today, but I wanted to mention we have a team from Erdene that is going to globals, and my family's been in the DI program for years, and we've had the opportunity to bring teams to globals. And so just a couple Saturdays ago, I participated in the state DI tournament, along with, there were 5 teams from the Duluth Public Schools, over 150 teams from across the state. And lots of great things going on. And Superintendent Grunset mentioned today's Earth Day, and in my old life I did a lot of environmental education, and I spent the morning in Mrs. Jamar at Lester Park's 3rd grade class educating them on global water issues. And I encourage the public to learn about the many things our school district is doing around sustainability and on a number of levels, and you can go on the district website, and I think it highlights some of the things. And I just, as someone who honors Earth Day, I wanted to share that as well. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Member Loeffler Kemp. 100 years ago, I remember one of my heroes, Senator Gaylord Nelson, started Earth Day, and I still have the poster of a garbage can over the earth, honor the earth, and it's very encouraging to see, especially I look at our student reps, and you guys are much more environmentally active and environmentally concerned than when I was a high school student. We threw a lot of garbage away back then, and I know that your generation is in the forefront of helping reduce our waste and pollution. Member Johnston.
Yeah, I want to thank Student Manning there for some of his suggestions. It's nice to hear students invite us. And I think before I invited you to interview us on all your student papers and whatnot, and it's a two-way street, so I often hang out in the schools a lot, and anywhere from reading to whatever. And of course, the the event at Denfeld was certainly very special as well. But not only can we just hang out in some of these classes, but also suggest that we volunteer, going through and helping out anywhere from collecting tickets to whatever we do, and going to some of the classes and volunteering to, like the public speaking class. All us political people here, we speak a lot, and it's amazing how many people don't know what it's like to be public speakers, and we got great classes that teach that. Of course, me as being an engineer, I always offer my services to the mathematics and the engineering department, so I encourage all the members to do that as well, because our schools are really fun to hang out in. Thank you.
One thing I'll say about Member Johnston is that Principal Glockley said he makes a mean hamburger, and I know he goes out there and cooks for their gathering. Member Manning.
I forgot, but a couple of months ago, you guys, some of you said you wanted to see the Respect video that East put on. So at the end of May, we're planning on an event regarding that, and also showing the Denfeld lip dub video, kind of talking about respect, discrimination, bullying, things like that. So I'll tell you at the next meeting specific dates and details. So just let
We're
you guys
looking
know
forward to
about
that. Thank you. Member Lafleur-Kemp.
One last thing. April 29th, 4 p.m., there will be a neighborhood meeting at Lester Park School concerning the Rock Ridge neighborhood and the Rock Ridge School. 5 o'clock? 5:30. Okay, that's been changed since I saw that. So 5:30 at Lester Park School concerning the Rock Ridge, and I just want the public to know about that. April 29th, Tuesday.
That's the April 29th one.
Okay.
Okay.
Just because I represent that area, just wanted to make sure the public knew. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.